So as you can probably gather from the title, I had a quarter life crisis and I decided to document it. So to understand what my quarter life crisis really entailed is to understand some of the context behind it. I came to Canada for university. I was legally in the country under a study visa. Sometime in the middle of my degree, my study visa had expired and I applied for an extension, but I wasn't able to get that within the time that I needed it. So I ended up having to leave. I didn't know when I can come back into Canada. So I had to leave back to my home country, which is Korea. If you guys didn't know, I'm Korean. I had to say goodbye to all of my friends and it was like the saddest thing ever because I genuinely did not know when I was going to see my friends again.
Hannah, I'm gonna miss you very much. And we all love you very much.
Hannah. Off I was to Korea for an indefinite amount of time. Mind you, this was like 2 months before my graduation. I was like this close to finishing my degree, so I had to beg my professors to let me take all my finals online and write all my final projects online, and thankfully they let me. So I graduated from university in Canada while I was in Korea. 5 months later, I got a work visa, which allows me to work in Canada. Yay! And I was like, since I got it, let me just travel a little bit, see the world. And so I decided to go to Japan. Japan, I've never been before. I was really excited to see a new country. I ate lots of really great food. I had so much food. Then I decided to go to Hawaii. I love Hawaii. Beautiful country. I almost said country. Beautiful state. And then I decided to go to Chicago and Wisconsin, which is where my childhood is. I haven't been back home in about 6 years, so I got to revisit all of my childhood memories. I got to see my childhood home. I learned how to ride my bikes here. That was my bedroom. That was my room. That was Yuna's room. There was this one dude that me and Jada both liked that played baseball. Yeah. And so we would like bike past the games. But like we didn't want to like stop and sit down. Yeah. So we just keep biking like around the ball like, in a circle. Just to catch a glimpse. That's hilarious. It was honestly the most nostalgic healing experience of my life. I was like in cloud 9, okay? I was like traveling everywhere. I was eating such good food. I was seeing my old childhood home. And then I came back to Canada, and this is where everything just falls apart. Naturally, after graduation, what do? You start applying for work. So I started applying for jobs, and I was doing some interviews, and I was filling out job applications. I have an interview. This is my first interview I've actually gotten since graduating, so I'm a little bit nervous, a little bit anxious. I feel confident. I did some practice questions with one of my friends who works in HR, so she kind of gave me a rundown of what they can expect, and all I can do now is just believe in myself, trust myself, and know that I am qualified. Application after application, interview after interview, I was getting rejected, I was getting ghosted, I was getting like left on red, which is the same as ghosted. I was getting like everything that was not an acceptance. And it was honestly kind of hard to absorb that because I have been working since I was 14. I've never not had a job. In university, while I was a full-time student, I was still working 3 part-time jobs. I've never not had any source of income. As someone who spent this whole summer traveling and spending money to come back and not have a job, I was actually like, and also getting all of these rejections and also not even hearing back. I would follow up with my application and not hearing back from companies. Get that they're busy. I get you're busy. Like I really questioned my competence. I questioned my skills. I questioned my education. I questioned everything. I probably look like a mess right now because I was crying a little bit. I just got off the phone with my parents and I've been unemployed for a few months now, and then I am struggling to find work because the job market sucks. I'm like kind of losing a grasp on like who I am as a person and my purpose, and I just feel very like unqualified for a lot of the jobs that I am applying for. I'm just having like imposter syndrome. But one thing my mom said to me is that like they haven't seen me be sad, and that's something I don't want to show them because they've worked so hard to put me and my sister through school. They immigrated from Korea to the US and they went through like a lot of hardships to bring us to where we are now. I think a lot of immigrant kids can relate to the feeling of wanting to give back to their parents for everything that they've sacrificed and everything that they've done for us. I've always dreamed of being able to afford to fly my parents out to Europe or just something like really nice vacation and like be able to retire their parents as well. I feel like every immigrant kid kind of like has a similar vision or dream of like giving back to their parents. Right now I have that immense guilt that I can't do that for them. The thing that my mom said that actually made me well up a little bit was she was like, oh my Hannah, like you used to be so bright when you were a kid. It hurts me to see you like this. And I think that the fact of like me being such a bright kid is what makes me like so sad. Oh my god, why am I like crying? I was such a goofy kid. I loved to be very silly, even though no one else thought I was like funny, but I loved to like be really silly, and I would try really hard to make other people laugh.
Wow, that was delicious! Oh my god!
That was just who I was when I was younger. I feel like a lot of my childhood self has kind of like, she's not there anymore. I kind of miss her. Like, all I do now is just stress over finding work and over finances. I don't even know what the point of this video is, but I'm just in this like feeling of just like everything I want to give to them. I like had high hopes for myself to be able to provide for them, and I'm in a place where I can't even provide for myself, and like they still have to provide for themselves and for myself. Like I feel like I'm just this extra like burden. I know I'm not a failure. Everyone has their ups and downs, but I can't help but feel that right now because a lot of my actions, a lot of my irresponsibility has led me to where I am now. I feel like I could have tried harder in school. I feel like I could have tried harder in life. All I'm doing now is just beating myself up for it. Being unemployed is probably one of my biggest insecurities. In your 20s, when you don't have a lot of time, when your friends are all working and you only get to catch up with them once every while, what do they want to do? Let's go get food, let's go get a drink, go do this and that, and they all cost money. And I don't have that money because I don't have work. So being able to catch up with my friends also became gradually more and more difficult. And I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed to say, hey guys, I can't really catch up with you over like an $8 coffee. And so instead, I would just kind of prolong my catching up with certain friends. Honestly, did not eat at some points because I didn't have money for food. It was like obviously a difficult experience, but that was the reality of it. I've been self-sufficient since I was 19, I would say, but I've always had work. Now to try to be self-sufficient without an income is genuinely just a different level of hard I was not prepared for. Moving on is into hobbies. Like any person going through a quarter-life crisis, naturally I picked up a couple new hobbies, one being rock climbing. One of my friends had introduced me to a group of people who also climb, and it was honestly the thing I needed to kind of pick me up. I was depressed. I was actually genuinely so depressed when I went into this climbing community. I did not love myself at all. I did not know myself. I didn't see any value in myself at all. Like, it's totally normal in your 20s to be figuring out life or being unemployed and just not really knowing where you're going in life, and that's totally normal, and I understand that, but this being my first time experiencing that is very, very difficult for me, and I feel like I've genuinely lost a lot of sense of self. I don't know where I'm going in life, and it's really like, this is so normal. I know it's normal. Everyone who tells me that their 20s are messy tells me this is normal, and so I'm trying to reassure myself, but so much uncertainty about your future is what makes it really, really difficult. And then I joined the climbing community. I met a lot of people, and they slowly but surely, they kind of brought me out of my depressed mentality. I just did not feel great about myself at all, but the people that were there in the community, they were people from all different walks of life, all different academic backgrounds, all different just life experiences, and just kind of seeing how everyone is just figuring out themselves, figuring out their ways was the comfort blanket that I really needed at that time. So I also joined a run club, as anyone in their quarter life crisis does. It was great. Honestly, I ran, and no matter how much I hate exercising, the run club was just a reminder to me that physical activity actually does make me feel better, and every time I do feel sad, I do try to incorporate some physical activity into my routine because it does make me feel better at the end of the day. Hello guys, I decided to refilm the second half of the video because I feel like I didn't fully process some of the emotions I was feeling in the section that I'm going to talk about. So I wanted to refilm it because your girl was kind of crashing out. The emotions were very high, and I was still in the midst of the situation, and I kind of still am now, but I feel like I've had a lot more time to process my emotions, and that's kind of what I needed before filming this part. So to get into the next section of the video is just having falling out with friends. There was someone that I met a couple months ago. I think we both became very codependent on each other. We just kind of relied on each other for support. In the beginning, like, we were really good friends, we bonded really well, and we had a lot of similarities. But with any natural friendship, it's very common, it's totally normal to have falling outs, it's totally normal to have fights with friends. It's just a matter of how much you guys want to reconcile and, you know, maintain that friendship and build that foundation. Unfortunately, our falling out was a bit more public than I was expecting it to be because we have the same friends. Personally, when I get into a fight with someone or when I have conflict, I tend to shut down a little bit. I tend to need some time to myself, just like really process everything. It takes me like a day. Like, I don't really think I can sit through and feel it out in like a short amount of time. I need like a good amount of space to myself and recharge. In the time that I was taking to myself, this friend had gone to our friend group about our issues and kind of painted me in a very negative light. It didn't help that I wasn't saying anything because I just shut down. I was in my room. I just kind of isolated myself from a lot of people. I started getting messages from friends saying like, I heard this story about you. When I hear the narrative that was being shared, I was kind of taken aback. I don't care what a lot of people think about me, but there are a few people in my life that I will genuinely consider are like people that I value, and those are the opinions that I care about. So when it started becoming those people that were seeing me differently, I was a little bit hurt. I'm gonna be honest, like I was hurt because these are people that I value greatly. They are people that I've made sacrifices for. They're people that I genuinely consider some of my closest friends. For me to think of them in such a big light and for them to believe a narrative about me so easily before they even talked to me was kind of heartbreaking. It kind of was like a reality check for me to realize who my genuine friends actually were. That also caused a lot of stress for me. I had some health concerns. I didn't do too much research behind it, but according to my doctor, they were stress-induced ulcers, and I was getting them all over on my lip. I was getting sores all over in my gums, on my tongue, in my throat, just everything in the oral area. I actually could not eat for a while. It was painful all the time, but it hurt, especially when I wanted to eat something that had texture, such as crunchiness. The texture of that would hurt if I wanted to eat anything that had flavor, spicy, salty, sweet. Acidity or change of like pH, it would physically feel like a burning sensation. I also couldn't swallow. The back of my throat was like in a lot of pain. So anything eating related was genuinely so painful. I started buying like little packs of baby food just to make eating a little bit more manageable. I went through different kinds of medication for this. I was like using medicated mouthwash, topical steroids. I was also applying numbing gel all over my mouth so I could at least brush my teeth. Even like brushing my teeth became incredibly painful. About like 5 minutes later and I can't feel a thing in my teeth, like on my gums right now. So now, while my teeth are numb, I can finally brush my teeth. We're gonna put on this stuff on it. This is the topical steroid for it. It looks gross. I go in here, do a little dab, apply it here, on that spot there too. And that is my part of my night routine. Eating is like my comfort blanket. Like I genuinely just eat when I'm stressed. So not being able to do that was kind of, I'm just gonna say it sucked. One life lesson that my dad always says is time will heal. Time will heal all. With some time, I also started feeling a lot better. All of my sores are gone now. Thankfully, I can finally eat and like brush my teeth again. Wait, that sounds gross. I've still been brushing my teeth. It's just that I can brush my teeth more comfortably. But basically enough time has passed. You know, I've been able to get over it. It honestly took like a huge toll on my mental health. Everything just kind of felt really sucky. Like I felt like I didn't have a lot of friends that genuinely cared about me in the way that I thought that they did. But that was definitely one of like the difficult, probably a very difficult time in my life. One thing that I hate about being like an adult, but like in my 20s where I'm still figuring out life, is it's getting gradually harder to rely on your parents. One thing I miss about being a kid is like running to my mommy. Like I'd be like, mommy, 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 make this better, and she will make it better. Sometimes when she can't make it better, she would just make like a really nice home cooked meal. And that alone is so healing. Now that I'm an adult and my parents are also worried about like taking care of themselves and supporting themselves, I can't rely on them the same way as I used to. And I can't expect them to. I can't really put that burden on them. One thing that I find really difficult about being like a child of an immigrant is like they've sacrificed so much for you. Like they've literally brought me across oceans to provide me with a life they think is better than what they went through. And they're like jumping ship to a whole new country, a whole new language, whole new culture, like a country they've never been to before, a language they've never really spoken before. And they're putting themselves in literally like the toughest boat. They know how many obstacles they're gonna face, but they know it's all worthwhile because it's for their kids. And that is like the biggest sacrifice that I feel like any child of an immigrant family can understand. And I'm getting like a little bit teary-eyed just like thinking about like how much my parents have sacrificed for me. To ask them to shoulder my burdens when they're also doing so much to maintain themselves is one that I feel like is kind of selfish of me. They are my family. I know that they'll always care and worry about me, and they're more than happy to shoulder that, but that's like something I don't want to put on them. Oh. Where's my fan? I literally just did my makeup, so I cannot be crying right now. So yeah, that's like a burden I don't really want to ask my parents to have to carry for me because they've done so much already. If you guys watch my channel, you probably know that my parents live overseas now. They moved back to Korea, and I'm so happy and I want that for them because they're back to their home country. They're back with their family, their friends, their old life. I definitely know during like these past couple months I needed my mom, and she does not know how much I needed her, but I definitely needed her. Moving on to present day, my parents actually came to visit me and my sister, and we spent some time in Banff, and we went to Mexico together, and that was like the most healing experience ever. Like it was the thing that I needed to get me back on my feet. Stay tuned for Banff and Mexico vlogs. To update you guys, I am still unemployed. I feel like I'm handling unemployment a lot better. I'm honestly a little too comfortable with it now. I definitely need to find a job soon because I am running out of money, but my mom is here, my parents are here, and that's all that matters. They've really helped me get myself back on my feet, whether they know it or not. Just their presence alone, just family alone. If there's one thing that I learned with this whole quarter life crisis, this whole situation, is just that like community is so important. Having human connection, having that support system, having people you can rely on, even if it's just one person, having that changes your life so significantly. I used to be someone who was like so anti-marriage. Like I never want to get married. I don't think I've ever met someone that I can fully trust being my life partner. And that's also why I never wanted to get married, is because like I didn't ever feel like I can depend on anyone. Okay, this is random, this is off topic. Anyways, where I am now is I'm still figuring things out, and I'm just taking every day, one day at a time. The thing about quarter life crises is you just don't really feel like you have a purpose. When you struggle to find work, personally, I feel like I didn't really have a lot of things I can contribute to the workforce now. I feel like I lost touch with a lot of my technical skills. But with that feeling of losing that sense of purpose in other ways, I found my purpose in taking care of myself right now. I forgot about love languages and how that actually applies to yourself too. There's like the 5 love languages: acts of service, quality time, gifts, physical touch, and words of affirmation. And even though those are ways that people express love to other people, those are also ways you can express love to yourself. Like I'm starting to spend more time with myself, reading books, that's my quality time. I will speak kindly to myself in the mirror, which is words of affirmations. That is where my sense of purpose has started becoming, is just investing in myself and taking care of myself. Through that, I found a little bit of value and sense of self again. I'm going to conclude the video here. That is the end of this video. I hope this resonated with some of you guys. Hopefully it wasn't just me dumping all my emotions and my problems and frustrations on the internet. And if it is, whatever. I'll be 30, I'll be 40, and I'll look back on this video and be like, that was me when I was in my 20s. That was the adversities that I faced, and those are the adversities that I overcame. Please hit that like and subscribe for this video. Maybe I'll make another updated video on where I'm at in a couple months from now. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye guys.
Let it go. 얼어붙어 like whoa. 띵하고 어지러워. I see. 한여름에 더 나은 겨울. Yeah, let it go.